Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome to the very first VSNI webinar. Today we'll talk about veterinary sustainability and we'll listen to three vets who have made sustainability changes in their work. So my name is Níamh. I'm a vet and I am one of the co-founders of the VSNI and I'll be leading tonight's session. Thank you all for joining us this evening to learn about sustainability. A special thank you to our speakers, Jerry, Emma, and Brian, and to Excel Vets for helping organise this event. So our agenda for this evening is we'll just do some housekeeping intros initially, and then I'll do a 15-minute kind of overview into the introduction to veterinary sustainability. Then we'll have our three speakers, Jerry, Emma, and Brian, who will give us an overview into the changes they've made themselves, and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So just as we start, I just want to cover a few housekeeping points. So just to let you all know, this session is being recorded. You're all muted on entry just to reduce background noise, and please keep your microphones on mute if that'd be okay, just for a smooth listening experience for everybody. The session will last for about 50 minutes with time for Q&A at the end. Please make use of the chat box to say hi, to ask questions, to add comments during the session. We are expecting quite a crowd tonight, so we can't really have people jumping on using their microphones at the moment. But if you want to use it, please make use of the chat box. It'd be great. We'll answer any questions hopefully during the Q&A. And just to remind everyone to please remain respectful to ensure a positive learning space for everybody. And if you're having any technical issues, message us in the chat. Our team will help you. If you get disconnected, just rejoin using the original link. And then in terms of the recording, we will hopefully send out a recording in the few days post-webinar, along with the slides and resource links as well, so that you can catch up, and anyone who wasn't able to make this evening would be able to catch up as well. So just an introduction to the Veterinary Sustainability Network Ireland. So I know there's quite a number of familiar faces here this evening already, but for those who don't know us, I just want to give you a quick overview. So the Veterinary Sustainability Network Ireland, it's a not-for-profit organisation. We started around this time last year. I think we're just coming up to our first birthday, really. And we became a formal company at the start of July this year. So the idea started when I moved back to Ireland from the UK last year. In the UK, I was active with Vet Sustain, who's a similar organisation over there, and wanted to do something similar in terms of sustainability in Ireland. However, after asking around and finding little on sustainability supports for vet professionals in Ireland, a few enthusiastic individuals and I decided to form the VSNI and to raise awareness and start discussions on this topic. Since then, we have become a formal not-for-profit with an ever-growing number of people involved. So our mission is to be a leading voice for nature and the environment in the veterinary industry in Ireland. We aim to create a veterinary sustainability network by engaging and educating those in the sector and collaborating with stakeholders inside and outside the veterinary field on this very important topic. So we'll first begin by looking at a 15-minute overview. I want to keep it as brief as possible because it's a huge topic, just so nobody gets overloaded with the content, and then we'll move on to our three speakers. So I'll start with what is sustainability. So to understand sustainability, I guess it's a term I suppose a lot of people have probably grown tired of, as it's been probably overused a lot, especially in recent years, by some organizations using it to greenwash, I guess. However, when we looked into sustainability, we found that the true definition of it actually aligns with kind of our values and mission. I suppose the most accepted definition involves some form of the three Ps, as you can see in the diagram on the right-hand side. So people, planet, and profit. Alternatively, it can be known as the three E's, so environment, equality, and economy. It can be known as the triple bottom line or the three pillars. There's so many different definitions out there. But in simpler terms, I guess it means enough for everyone forever, or meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. it just aims for a good life for everyone in a viable economy while protecting our planet. Um, and a recent Vet Sustain roundtable discussion, one director actually did mention adding a fourth P, or a quadruple bottom line, adding pets or animal welfare to the three Ps, which I thought was actually quite a good addition, especially for our profession looking through the sustainability lens. So then what does this look like in a veterinary context? What does sustainability look like to us? So in veterinary, I guess we do play a significant role in sustainability. We are key in the One Health movement, advocating for animal health while protecting human health. This includes monitoring disease outbreaks and promoting good antimicrobial practice, as well as maintaining the human-animal bond and many, many other aspects. However, people often overlook environmental and planetary health when looking at One Health. But we have a role here too, from helping farmers reduce agricultural emissions to protecting wildlife and reducing emissions. We also, I guess, when we look at our circle of influence as well, our circle of influence, we can kind of see it as, apart from our direct changes in sustainability in our households and whatnot, we also, those changes that we make do actually influence other people when they see what we're doing. So we do have a huge influence as vets and vet professionals on our pet owners, our farm clients, the general public, and we are seen as a trusted profession. And additionally, we impact policy in agriculture and we impact the pharmaceutical industry as well. So we can really use our influence in this area to raise awareness about sustainability and drive change. And then moving on to more the kind of stuff that sustainability is quite well known for. So obviously one of the big reasons or one of the big factors would be our emissions on the environment. And we obviously want to reduce our emissions from our workplace. We've heard a lot about it. And this at the same time can also help reduce on pollution and waste. Just a pointer in that the government has pledged that we will reduce emissions from Irish businesses by 35% by 2030, and this does include veterinary businesses. However, we have found, and the feedback is that many veterinary businesses don't feel ready to meet this goal or haven't started yet. And then a final point is that the World Veterinary Organization in 2020 did release a statement saying that veterinarians have an obligation to help protect the ecosystem and fight climate change. And we can play a key role in this movement, as I've just outlined. And I guess as well, like going back to, I suppose, the reason I chose the career at the start, and probably many of you did as well, we chose it because we love animals and nature, and these are the same values that also drive the sustainability movement. So we really, really are intertwined with sustainability at our core. And then we'll look at why does it matter. So I guess we're all probably overwhelmed with some of the information we're getting about sustainability. And I probably don't need to explain climate change and the biodiversity crisis and the waste crisis and everything that's going on in the world to you all. And that's why I have used these two visuals to represent why it matters. Because I do think they portray it quite nicely, but also quite simply. So the image on the left, this is called the warming stripes, and this is an infographic produced by Professor Ed Hawkins. It illustrates changes in global temperature over the past 150 years when comparing it to a historical average. Each stripe represents a year, with blue for cooler years and red for warmer ones. And as you can see from this diagram, you can really, really clearly see it. You can see that the recent decades have shown such a striking shift towards red, highlighting how rapidly our planet is heating. The slide on the right-hand side, you mightn't be as familiar with it, but it's representing the concept of the planetary boundaries. These are 9 Earth systems that have to remain in balance for a stable and healthy planet. And as of 2023, scientists have found that 6 of these boundaries have been breached, meaning we're operating outside the safe zone for key environmental processes. So together, I think these visuals do really powerfully convey the urgency of the challenges we face and why we need immediate, meaningful action. And then I want to look at how the actual veterinary industry is doing in itself. Currently, there's no national data on the average carbon footprint or on sustainability figures of Irish veterinary practices or how they compare to other sectors. Most of the information that we have is coming from individual practice assessment and then small scale surveys as well. Recently, as part of the VSNI, we conducted a survey to explore attitudes, awareness, and actions of veterinary sustainability in Ireland regarding veterinary professionals in sustainability. While the findings provided valuable insights, they also did show that we do have quite a lot of work to do as an industry. Um, one of the questions that we started with was to get respondents to rate the importance of sustainability in their own personal views, and then to how they thought their own practice saw it as well. So from this graph, 66% of veterinary professionals considered climate change to be extremely or very important. However, only 29% of the respondents felt that their workplace shared that same level of concern. And we also assessed how well practices are tracking resource use and engaging in sustainability initiatives. We had about 105 respondents, and 83 of these respondents were working in practice. Out of these 83 practices, only 3 were pursuing sustainability certification. 25% of respondents believe that their practice was doing nothing at all regarding sustainability, and then an additional 38% felt that their efforts were minimal. And then finally, the last part of the survey I'll show today, there is a lot more, but we're kind of a bit tight for time, I suppose, rather than delving so deep into the survey. But we asked, we wanted to find out what barriers or obstacles might be in place to people in implementing sustainability changes in practice. So we asked participants to identify the biggest barriers to implementing them by rating them. The lack of time emerged as the most significant challenge. However, all respondents really, as you can see here, the majority of them did rate a lot of them quite highly. So time was the biggest factor, but also cost and knowledge were also considered quite important barriers as well. And support seemed to be the least important, but still quite a lot of people did rate it as quite extremely important as well. A summary of our survey results, it is available on our website with a full report hopefully to come over the next few months. This data we're hoping will help us to, number one, establish a baseline for sustainability in the Irish veterinary sector, and then also to guide the development of our targeted strategy to drive improvements. And our work builds on previous research that was carried out by Ellen Hegarty, by Excel Vets and the UCD Vet School. Other ongoing initiatives into veterinary sustainability are the UCD Vet School has set up a sustainability group, which is fantastic. And then we also have Vet Sustain over in the UK who are doing fantastic work. We have a new organisation set up, the World Veterinary Environmental Association. And then we do also have some promising technological developments emerging at the moment, with Linnaeus having introduced an anaesthetic gas capture system to some of its UK practices, which is shown to be quite promising. And then I guess the important question is, what can we do about it? I won't go into depth on this on the first 4 points. I will let the rest of our speakers kind of show you what they've done, and they cover a lot of these topics in it as well. But I will chat about the final 2. And I guess just at the top there, I think it is important to remember that even though we might feel very, very overwhelmed and completely lacking all hope when it comes to sustainability, and when we feel like we're only one small cog in the wheel and what can we do, I always try to remember that even though individual actions are small, individual action inspires collective action, which then leads to systemic change. And generally, systemic change doesn't happen until the first 2 happen as well. And then I guess in terms of sustainability initiatives itself, it's so hard to summarize exactly what needs to be done. That's one of the biggest challenges with sustainability. It's a huge, complex issue influenced by so many different factors. But some of the meaning or some of the ways that I would recommend are outlined here. But my final two are I would get involved with sustainability work or with a like-minded community or some go down this line in some form if you're interested in it. Personally, like getting involved with sustainability work has been probably the greatest antidote to my own climate anxiety. It connects you with like-minded people. It gives you energy and inspiration when it comes to this movement as well, which is it's a difficult movement to work in. It's a difficult movement to think about. And it also, if you get involved with different sustainability initiatives, it will help you develop a plan that fits your values in your workplace as well to try implement these strategies. And the final one is um, talk about it. It sounds so simple, but really it's just start conversations with anyone about sustainability. Positive conversations is the way that I think is the best way to convey it and kind of convince people as well. And whether it's with suppliers, clients, farmers, local reps, TDs or MEPs, just talk to anyone about it. Let them know that sustainability matters to you. Often all it takes is a nudge or a shared conversation to get someone else started in their own journey, and who knows what that'll lead to. So I'm going to leave it there for just as a brief overview to sustainability in the veterinary industry. I hope it isn't too short, and I hope it does give you some insight into what it involves. Now I'm delighted to hand you over to the first of our three speakers. So we're going to have Jerry O'Sullivan from Clinic Nagoppel up first, and then it'll be followed by Emma Plant and Brian Murphy. And they're going to chat to us and tell us how they're going to share the practical changes that they've made to run a more sustainable veterinary practice themselves. So Jerry, I'll hand it over to you if you'd like to pop up your slides there now. I'm going to stop sharing mine.
Okay, thank you, Níamh. And well done on for getting us this far down the line and setting up VSNI and for getting us to the point of hosting our first webinar. Hopefully it'll be the first of many. We moved into our permanent location in 2015. We're a small equine practice based in County Carlow, in O'Loughlin in County Carlow. And we had a vision of what we wanted to do before we ever moved in. So right from the start, our first intervention is we planted pollinator-friendly flower beds, both at Street View and within the practice property itself. And we drew from the All-Ireland Pollinator Plan to plant insect-friendly plants, perennial plants, so very little maintenance. You just have to prune them after they're flowered. And hopefully they'll provide a source of pollen and nectar for bees, wasps, and all the pollinating insects for as much of the year as possible. A very simple intervention, any practice could do it. Now, on our site, probably 2/3 of the property is taken up by buildings, barns, car park, a working yard, which left about 1/3 available. And my original idea was that I was just going to mow it and make a lawn of it. But luckily, a good fairy suggested that I could do a wildflower meadow there, and it's an intervention I didn't regret. It involves just close cropping the vegetation every year in October, leaving it for a couple of weeks for the seeds to fall off onto the ground and then removing it, because for a wildflower meadow to proliferate, you need the ground to be poor quality. If it's obtaining a nitrogen source, the grasses will become dominant and the native seed population, the native wildflower population won't thrive. On the photograph on the left, you can see that we've got ash trees on the perimeter of the property. And unfortunately, on the left side of the screen there, you can see a tree that's affected by ash dieback disease. Well, we tried to turn a vice into a virtue because we started using those branches to create a thing called a dead hedge or a Bennis hedge here on the right. And we have two of these hedges, and I think they're quite attractive. And as branches die off, we just build up the dead hedge. And of course, that acts as a natural wildlife resort, a wildlife resource. And there it's just at the margin of our trotting ring. I actually like it so much, I think I'm going to extend it farther around our trotting ring. In the background to the right, you can see a lime tree. We planted a line of lime trees, and we put in a native hedge as well, backing onto the edge of the property. In the last couple of years, I regret I should have put in more trees at the start, but we've put in more specimen trees farther down to the left behind the lunging ring. You can see in the slide on the left. I use the path up to the lunging ring when I'm examining lame horses. I introduce the wildflower meadow to clients whenever they come, and just have it as a point of discussion, just pointing it out to them, and people are surprisingly interested in it. And it's really an interesting point of engagement with regard to sustainability, such as a simple action. Over the last couple of years, I've planted a couple of Miyawaki forests. They're Japanese forests. It's an idea that I encountered a couple of years ago, named for Dr. Akira Miyawaki, a Japanese ecologist and botanist who in the early 1990s noticed what happens in the natural regeneration situation. If a tree comes down in a forest, you've suddenly got the resource of light where it wasn't there before, and the native population of seeds on the ground will then compete to get up to that light. So it results in a very rapid regrowth of the native vegetation. So you use native trees, but pack them in much more tightly than normal. And then they'll compete with each other. And the end result is you'll have a canopy, and then below that, a sub-tree layer, and at the bottom, a shrub layer. Beauty about it is you can do it on a very small piece of ground, as little as 9 square meters. Indeed, I think I probably used even smaller patches of ground for our 2 forests. And it's also maintenance free after a couple of years. Behind the lunge ring this year, we put in a pond, a reasonably large pond. Pond can be any size, and any size is considered a value. If you dig a hole in the ground, turn the dustbin lid upside down, that's a pond. You don't need a mini digger to be putting one in, but instead of using plastic as a liner as well as an experiment, I use bentonite clay, which we'd read about, and it'll be a year or 2 before I know it works. But the theory is that will act as a natural barrier, and we're going to take the roof water off the barn behind us there that you can see in the distance behind the lunging ring, and we're going to drain that into the pond, and that'll be our source. Now, a pond is considered to be probably the most effective intervention you can do to promote nature on your property. On a more dramatic scale, dramatic in a financial sense, we installed a heat pump this year. The logic of that is that it should reduce CO2 emissions. Its effect is by using heat transfer rather than fossil fuel generated energy. Now, it's not going to be suitable for every premises. You need a reasonably well insulated building, a building with an A or a B BER rating, energy rating. Otherwise, you're just going to be trying to heat the sky. It's a significant capital outlay, but there is accelerated capital allowances, so you can write it off in the first year. And it's generally considered to take about 7 to 10 years to pay back the financial cost. But of course, the environmental cost occurs right at the get-go. We also this year have put up 22 solar panels. Now, solar panels work very well with a heat pump because heat pumps have an electricity draw. Everybody, in my opinion, should be, while a heat pump is suitable only for certain premises, solar panels, if you've got a roof, you should have a solar panel. You can put it on the ground if you don't have a roof. It eventually pays for itself. On our premises, we're calculating at the moment somewhere between 2 and 2,500 will be our payback per annum. And the return of investment is considered to be somewhere between 3 and 5 years. And again, there's an accelerated capital allowance, so you can write it down in the first year. Now, if you're installing it as a domestic building, you'll get grant support of 1,800. But if you're doing it on a commercial basis on the number of panels you put up, you'll get more. We'll probably get a grant of approximately 2,700 for installing our solar panels. That's one I'd urge everybody to do if they have the opportunity. Some measures we've taken in the office. We use fair trade products wherever possible, including Fairphones. If you're not familiar with Fairphones, that's a screenshot I took of my Fairphone only last week. I've had it just over a year and a half. And unlike your Apples and your Samsungs, it encourages you to keep your phone for a long period of time. You can see that I've set myself a goal of keeping my phone for 7 years. And there's guaranteed software updates to 2032. Interestingly, I got an email from Fairphone today, actually marking today being Earth Overreach Day, the day and the calendar year where the resources humanity uses exceed the planet's capacity to regenerate. It's an organization from Geneva in Switzerland, set up in 1971. Interestingly, in 1971, Earth Overreach Day was, believe it or not, December 29. So in my lifetime, we've gone from December 29 to July 24. And it's shortened by 1 week in the last year alone. So an alarming finding. You'll be waiting a long time before you get an email from Apple or Samsung highlighting Earth Overreach Day or encouraging you to keep your phone. And in the same way, maybe Brian will talk about it with your car. If you keep your car a long time, it's more effective. Most of the CO2 produced in a car's life is produced in its production to begin with. So keep your cars. Like I feel we've got to get away from this endless consumption mode we're all living in. I use this, and I encourage the others to use the Ecosia search engine rather than Google, which will be hunting you across the internet. Amazingly, the advertising associated with using the Ecosia search engine has resulted in the planting of 235 million trees to date. Very impressive. Now, I didn't mention who did our solar panels or anything else. I'm not here to promote any one company. I will make an exception. Wherever we can, we buy from Clee Paper, an excellent small company in Dublin for recycled paper, stationery, and low-impact environmental products. And of course, you install a smart meter to monitor your use is a use of electricity. For those of you who are interested in this field, this is a book I loved. Dave Goulson, he's a very good writer. He's a professor of biology in Sussex University. Lovely book, A Buzz in the Meadow. Very entertaining, very well written. Special thanks to my wife, Margaret Brennan, who's my lodestar with regard to all things environmental. And thanks to the staff at Clinic Nagoppel, who may or may not be watching. Jerry, if you're watching tonight, Jerry Mulrooney, you'll be helping me to put up Swift boxes next year, plant a Seed Savers orchard. And because this project will never end, I'm going to keep coming up with more and more ideas. I'm going to keep hounding you. I'm not going to leave you alone. It's all about creating a space for nature. So on the slide on the right, if I can get the video to play, is 16 seconds from my wildflower meadow taken last week. Now, nobody's going to tell me closely mowed ryegrass lawn is better than that. That's it. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Jerry. That was really wonderful. And I've been lucky enough to be down to Jerry's practice multiple times, and I can guarantee you it is a wildlife haven. And just as you mentioned, the Earth Overreach Day, Jerry, as well, like that's the Earth Overreach Day for the world. I think the Earth Overreach Day for Ireland in particular is somewhere like April or May. Like, it's quite scary.
Oh dear.
So up next is Emma. So Emma Plant from Emma Plant Veterinary, and Emma will tell us all about the sustainability initiative she has implemented in practice. being so fantastic in this that she has even won an award. So go up. Thanks, Emma.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good there.
Super. So apologies, this is my first time doing this type of thing, so bear with me. My name is Emma. I qualified in 1998 from UCD, and I have a small animal clinic in County Longford, right in the Midlands. And we are lucky enough to have a very big surface area of our clinic and parking and green area, which actually doesn't show very well in that picture, but we have huge gardens. I feel like compared to Jerry, we do very, very little things. I think the main point that I'd love to make is that it goes back to what you were saying, Níamh. It's the small, tiny little things that you do and the ripple effect. That's what I really, really, really see. And that as vets, people do listen to us and they do look up to us. It mightn't feel like it every day, but they actually do. And if people see you doing a certain practice or a certain way of living or certain standards, they'll say, well, maybe we could do that, or sure, she's doing that, it's okay. And also the buy-in from the staff as well. I suppose I'm in practice on my own since 2010, but we moved into that building in 2016. In 2021, we were lucky enough to engage with our local enterprise board, who really were the spark that ignited support for us. I mean, I'd always wanted to do veterinary and my own business as greenly as possible, but it did seem like a little bit of an unsupported dream until I talked to the local enterprise board. And I don't know about other counties, but in Longford, they're extremely helpful. And once you engage with them, you get to know them. They'll let you know about schemes that are going on, and they really help you and put you forward for things. And we got quite a big grant for one of the major things we did was we changed the whole lighting system. Now, when we moved into that building, it was built during the Celtic Tiger, and it was not the way we would have liked it at all. And we changed every single lighting, all the internal lighting. 2 external floodlights were changed to LED as well and put on sensors. And we got a huge grant, I think it was about 80% grant for doing that. It was amazing. I never would have gone down that route otherwise. And there's lots of little supports as well. We had an energy audit. You can approach, if you have an idea, you can approach your local enterprise board and say, you know, well, I've had this idea. What about this? What support is there? And they're very happy to engage. They really do want to engage with businesses. I'll run through all the little bits and pieces. We buy all our detergents, all our soaps, cleaning products, our canteen supplies from a local refill shop. It's actually in Mullingar. So we go up once a month. And with all our old containers that we keep, I think the staff think that I'm going to be buried in a container, a reusable container at this stage. But it has become the norm for them. So we don't have any huge amount of endless detergent bottles and things like that. We actually use cloth drapes. We were lucky enough to get an equine hospital, ex-equine hospital, give us a load of brand new op drapes. And we have a very nice neighbour who's a seamstress, and she made them up into all our drapes. And we totted up that we would have used about 7,000 disposable ones per year. We have to be very careful with the autoclave labelling, and that it's all very clear, but it passes the VCI inspections. We use nitrate electricity. We put the autoclave on a timer. The washing machine is also set up at night time. Some of the staff are very nervous of some of the stuff we do. They're like, oh no, you can't have the washing machine going on at night, it'll go on fire. But look, I think it's fine. The biggest thing I think is again going back to staff and getting them to buy into it, and even if it's one person. All the staff bring their own lunch boxes and reusable water bottles and coffee and tea bottles. We have a water station. We're lucky enough to have lovely water in our taps. Some areas don't. We don't use anything reusable or anything paper or plastic. We built a big compost beside the entrance from pallets from deliveries. So we've got a lot of, all our food waste is composted there. We grow a lot of lavender, and like Jerry's video, it's amazing. You just sit and watch the bees and the lavender at this time of year. It's coming up to ripe season. We would harvest all the lavender then, and we use it to give it back to owners, along with a little lock of the hair or the paw print in a nice little upcycled glass bottle from vaccines. We'll put the lock of hair in the vaccine bottle in a little recycled envelope. And people really like that. We use our local men's shed as well. They're brilliant. They made all our planters and trellising from old timber. They're great for collecting old timber. Our staff are great for bringing in things. We have a huge garden. It's massive. I wish I'd taken more videos of it. And another thing I have is in the wintertime. Again, all our flowers and plants, they're slips and cuttings from friends, clients. You know, we don't do a whole lot of buying of things. It's amazing the culture when you say to somebody, "Oh, look, go out and take a slip of that," or it's sort of like a bring and buy type of thing. We have people calling in and they might just say, "Oh, I took a slip of that and giving you this." I know very little about gardening. It's very, very basic, and there's a Polish lady who helps us with it, but it's amazing the camaraderie that something beautiful brings. It started during COVID and everybody was outside the clinic, obviously, and we really wanted somewhere nice to work. So that's when we started the gardens. We have a water distiller instead of all buying all the distilled water in containers. We reckon that's about 1,800 litres of water. We have water butts collecting rainwater. And we use that in the summer for watering flower beds. And we actually were, during the storm Johan back in the winter time, we were very glad of it because nobody had water around. So we had no shortage of water. I think they hold 80 litres and we got 5 or 6 of them. They're quite satisfying to have. We did have a lot of rough unused ground that we inherited with the site, and that's been turned into pollinator friendly flower beds. It's quite wild looking. We grow a few very basic fruit and veg, black currants, gooseberries, cabbages, lettuces, seasonal, depends. I'd love to put up a little polytunnel, absolutely love to. We built a bug hotel. We have a beehive. Now they did fly off and abandon us, but that's an ongoing mission. We completed all that in about 2023. The fruit and veg are great. They're great fun, and it's amazing how it brings the community into your practice. We have a great neighbour next door. He's a man in his 80s, and he teaches us how to grow vegetables and how to be a little bit more self-sufficient. We've kind of stalled a little bit, I feel, on where we are. Our plan, well, the biggest thing we did this year so far is laughable. We counted how many times we were boiling the kettle, and it was 11.3 times a day, and that's only when I was there. So I'm sure it was boiled a lot more when I wasn't there. So I bought a little tea urn. It holds about 2 litres of hot water. You can make tea or coffee with it. It doesn't matter what you're making. And that is used all day, and if you're careful, it keeps the water hot until about 3 o'clock, and then it's time for more filling it up. And that has really reduced. I think we boiled the kettle maybe twice now. It's brilliant. And it was like 30 quid. It's brilliant. Again, going back to the ripple effect, if clients see us as a vet practice doing small, simple things, it really does empower people. And small steps locally, it becomes much more doable. It's the classic, follow the leader type of thing. It's in every walk of our life in veterinary. I mean, if people see it's okay for you to be buying your clothes from a second-hand shop. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have been asked where I got this pair of trousers from. There were €4 in the local second-hand shop, and people say, "Oh God, is that all right?" Or "God, would you really wear that?" And yeah, and it's a ripple effect. And I was only in Dunnes Stores the other day, and I was watching a lady with her bags, filling her shopping, and I was thinking, wasn't that many years ago we were standing here looking at the person who brought their own bag to Dunnes, which was probably some of us, and you felt like the hippie, or you felt like the odd one out, or gosh, why are you doing that? And now it's the norm. So it doesn't take that much for small little things to change quite quickly and become the norm. A few photos there are just of the bug bee hotel. all made from recycled bits and pieces. Some of our vegetables, that's the compost area, the water butts, that's the lavender. It's the harvested lavender that we send home to clients who've lost a pet. There's loads more photos I could have put in. I didn't know where to start and where to stop. We have a lot of decorations and things like that at the front area, and we have a bench outside for people to sit on, made from recycled timber. Really, that's our little contribution to things. Solar panels are our next big plan, and I'd be very keen to talk to Jerry about that. So, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Emma. We can all see why you won the Green Business Award. So well done. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
And now Brian, our last speaker of the night. So Brian is joining us from Killinall Vets, and Brian will be telling us about obviously about some of the sustainability changes that they made in their practice, but I know one will be of particular interest to some of our listeners, which is of EVs in mixed practice. So Brian, if you wouldn't mind, you have your screen shared. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Everyone hear me okay? Yeah. Good. So yeah, my name is Brian. I'm a vet here in Killinall. There's 6 of us here in the practice. We're primarily a farm animal practice. So it's 5 of us doing large and 1 doing smalls. Like that, like the lads, we would have made, a good number of changes around the practice again. The likes of the LEDs, the water distillers, the drapes, that kind of stuff. Like that's using the dryer racks, for drying stuff like that. Instead of tumble dryers, we've used all the racks and them up overnight. And those things. But I suppose the big changes that I made here, I suppose myself, is switching to an EV about 3 years ago. So it came about sort of accidentally. I had always thought I was driving a pickup truck. I had always thought that would be my last fully diesel vehicle, but I ended up writing it off in a crash and ended up fast forwarding into a full EV. Like that. So got myself a bit of a crash course in EVs. If you can change the slide there, Mike, please, you could. So I think people are kind of very slow and hesitant to go into an EV, especially in farm animal practice when you're doing a good lot of mileage. I do probably between 40 and 45,000 kilometers a year. Like that, just tipping around the farms, coming and going. I spend most of my time, like I do very little small myself, so it's nearly all farm work that I do. The range like that, I've got an ID4, like that. It's a pretty middle of the road, EV compared to what's out there at the moment. It's like that, 3 years old at this stage, but like that, the range is not a problem. Like that, I have never run out of charge, which is like that. The big question I'm always asked by everyone, I often have people asking me like that, especially or telling me rather all the things that are wrong with EVs, but it's really not a big deal. It is not an inconvenience. It's not a problem. Like that, I charge mostly here at the practice. We've got a charger here at the practice, that'll charge away while I'm here during the day, while I'm doing on the phone, doing dung samples, doing whatever I'm inside the office. I'm charging away the whole time I'm parked up. So you're always topping up and topping up. Like I don't drive to Donegal and back every day. I tip around small journeys, coming and going to farms, constant small journeys. Like that, the range like that, I'm not draining in a day. Like I can do 400 kilometers plus, but I don't do 400 kilometers in a day. I operate in the middle of the range like that. I operate between 300 and 100 typically, and like that. So again, you're not trying to find time to charge the full battery from zero. You're just topping it up, which is better for the battery and helps it last longer. It's not a big deal. The vehicle itself has been very good. I had no problem in the snow this year, no issue. We kept going through the snow. We kept working away. Like that, we were calving and testing and doing whatever while the snow was there. Like that, it wasn't an issue. The vehicles are pretty robust. I do have a small bit of farming myself, and last year I drew in all my small square bales of hay with the EV and a trailer, and no problem dragging them in like that. I'm not sure if it's what Volkswagen had planned for the vehicle, but it worked perfectly well and hasn't affected it. The battery over the 3 years has not deteriorated noticeably like that. It's not something that I haven't noticed it. I haven't seen it. It's not an issue. I've got my first service coming up tomorrow after over 3 years. Like that, so the running costs have been low. Let me switch the slide there again, I'm sorry. the time that I bought the EV, like that, the BIK situation on it was that there was no BIK on vehicles up to 50,000, and anything over 50,000 at the time was charged at 30% on the original market value, so what it cost the first day, and that was charged annually on that. Again, like that, the big thing again on that was the tax write down. In the first year, you were able to write off 24,000 in the first year directly. You were able to use that accelerated capital appreciation on that. I was just looking like that, thanks to my current, at where it stands at the moment, and just for anyone who is thinking about it, you might want to get a move on that. At the end of this year, like that, currently it's at 45,000, and depending on your mileage, then your rate of BIK will be different. The more mileage you do, the lower the rate of BIK on whatever the value is, the original market value over 45,000. Next year that drops to 20,000, and the following year it drops down to 10,000. So like that, it is in your financial interest, if you're thinking about it, to go ahead and do it soon rather than later. Like that, running costs of EV are low. Like that, Níamh had up on her slides at the start, you know, one of the things people were hesitant about was the cost of making changes, but running the EV like that is cheap. Like that, so I actually worked out just rough calculations there on sort of charging rates. Given even the most expensive daytime rates of about 35 cents a kilowatt, that would cost me about €6 per 100 kilometers, compared to today's diesel price. Was I still in the pickup truck that I had, would be costing me €12.10 per 100 kilometers. So it's half the price to run it. And just when Jerry was talking earlier about the production of his solar panels, I just did a quick calculation, and Jerry's panels would run my car for the year. Like that, roughly, like that's almost exactly when I worked out. That you know, with no additional cost on that, obviously, you know, that so like that's like, it makes financial sense. It's not an inconvenience. It's not a problem, you know. Like we're in rural Tipperary here, like that. It's not that we're inundated with fast chargers. You know, there are, you know, you have to drive a while to get one, but it's not a problem. And even at home, at my house, I don't have a charge point. Like that, all I have is the 3-pin plug, which is the slowest way of charging. I haven't had to go to the effort of putting in a charger because it's not a big deal. And my wife actually drives an EV as well, and we both use the same plug at home. We're able to share that plug, and I still have range to do, you know, do my weekends on call, do my nights on call, and go around do my calls during the day. It's not a big deal like that, you know. So it's like, anyone who's hesitant or just worried about it, like, I've been doing it for 3 years now. It's not a problem. I don't know, I'm repeating myself. We can move on, Mike, please. Bits of it, I suppose, where we struggle like that. We had switched at one point here to all biodegradable nitrile gloves, but we kind of lost our supply with COVID, and we've never gotten back to them. Like that, but they were good. It was a good quality brand called Showa that we used to use, but we haven't been able to get them since in a while. I wish we had another way of doing consumables, syringes and things. I don't know if anyone has a solution they can happily take on board and put in place, because syringes and plastic drives me crazy looking at every day what we go through. A small thing we did inside here was actually trying to move our vaccine fridges into a colder part of the building, which has significantly reduced the running costs and the pressure that's on the fridges. Like that, there are a lot less pressure trying to keep all the vaccines cold and stuff. Just by moving them to a different part of the building, we do slightly more walking to get them. That's it, you know. And again, Jerry's covered a lot of the solar stuff there, but like Emma, it's on our to-do list here. We've had, I suppose I'm kind of a bit hesitant because I'm waiting to see, like that, are the Perscovite panels going to come into play like that? Are they going to be more efficient coming in? Are we better off to wait a little while? Like that, and also some of the solar crowds, we've had a lot of different quotes and different people with different sort of, you know, I suppose recommendations and stuff. So we're a little bit of, you know, bit of fuzz and confusion with that, but so it's on our to-do list, you know. So hopefully we get there. So like that, like I said, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Brian. And I really think the talk around the EVs is so important, really. Like I know so many people, it's the range anxiety, I think, is the biggest. So to hear from a mixed practice vet who doesn't ever run out of range is just fantastic. So I just really want to say thanks to the three of you guys for speaking this evening. It's really, really appreciated from myself and everyone at the Veterinary Sustainability Network, and I'm sure as well just the extended audience as well. So now we can move on to our Q&A section. If anyone has any questions they want to add, just please pop them into the box there. And while we're waiting for that, I can pop up a little, just the last couple of slides, just so we don't run over time for people. Let me just see now. And if anyone has any comments, any questions, and we'd love for it to be as open a discussion as possible. And I guess we're not sustainability experts. We are just people who are very interested in implementing these changes. So we might not necessarily know all the answers for you. I guess if we don't, we'll try find out for you over the next couple of days. Or if there's anybody in the audience who does know the answer or wants to add anything, please feel free to. So
Níamh, there's an interesting question has come in there actually.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
we've
Go ahead.
discussed it previously on the impact of reducing anesthetic gas use. Does it make much difference doing a low flow, or maybe we'd introduce the other option that we've seen that's on the market?
Yeah, so it is a great question, and it's really, really topical at the moment. So I guess in terms of reducing anesthetic gas usage, anesthetic gases, for anyone that doesn't know, are potent greenhouse gases. They're refrigerant gases, or of that category. And they're super, super potent. I think it's about isoflurane is about maybe 500 and something times carbon. So they are really potent, even though we're only using small quantities of them. In terms of reducing anesthetic gas, there's a couple of different methods, of course, making sure your analgesia protocols are correct, that the animal is well sedated and everything, so you don't need to use a huge dose of isoflurane. In terms of low flow, depending on the size of the animal, yes, that can make a big difference, but you do need kind of additional equipment in terms of capnography, and so if practices don't have that, that might not be as a valid option or a viable option, or for patient safety. The one that has come on the market, and we've met with Matt Gopal from Sage Tech over in the UK, is an anesthetic gas capture system. So at the moment they're in the early stages of it, where you have a canister like your Alzorbers, and then the anesthetic gas goes into their canister, and they can actually recycle the gas. It is a 100% recycling rate for the gas that's produced by the patient. There's a small amount lost to the environment, and that's from the anesthetic circuit leakage, and there's a small amount lost just from patient metabolism as well. But it looks like it's going to be a promising development there.
Excellent.
And then,
a question in there for yourself, Brian. People are starting to question the vehicle. What is the type of vehicle? Is the ID4 GTX, was it?
It's a four-wheel drive ID4 and all-wheel drive. Yeah. So like that, I've done plenty of field work with it, going across fields and whatever, and up trails and bits and pieces. Because that's no problem in the snow or that kind of stuff. Like that, yeah, an ID4 GTX. There are other four-wheel drive ones available now. And actually, I saw there recently they are launching an Enyaq all-wheel drive, Skoda Enyaq all-wheel drive van, which gives a lower BIK rate for anyone who's interested in that. Like that. And the other thing actually I mentioned earlier on was when I switched from the pickup truck to the ID4, I got a shelving unit put into the back of it, but I realized that I was carrying just way too much stuff all the time before. And like that, just reducing the amount of stuff I carried, just reduced the load, reduced waste in what I was carrying, because stuff was going off in the back of the truck that I wasn't using, like that. Whereas now I'm a bit more conscious of what I carry, and like that, the cabin jack and all the usual bits are still there, but yeah, like that, there's still lots of space and easy.
Excellent. Well, what a test case. You've been running it for 3 years, so it's and successfully. And another question follow up to that is, how is the EV on tires and brakes?
I haven't had to do anything with the brakes. I'll tell you after tomorrow with the service, but I've never had to touch the brakes. I'm not mechanically minded. I don't know, is that because of the way they're working with the regen and the battery? Tires, wires, like that. Yeah, like a couple of sets a year, which is kind of what I used to use on the Jeep before as well. And I don't know, is that my driving style or not? They're not outrageously expensive. You hear people talking about crazy stuff. They're not. You can get tires for 200 quid, like for them per tire over that, which they're quite large wheels, but compared to a Jeep tire, that's not unusual.
Right. A question there for yourself, Emma. What's the T-earn? And you're talking about, sounds great to get into a practice. I think you answered on the text there. You're trying to source it from the local hardware, is it? You just on mute there, Emma.
Sorry, apologies. I'm trying to do two things at once. Yeah, it was brilliant. I'm trying to find a video of it. If you go to our Instagram page, you'll see a little video of it. It's like a big flask, filled with and you fill it with boiling water in the morning, close it up, put it to close, and you just press the nozzle when you want a cup of tea and boiling water comes out. It's a small. It's not like the Beco boilers that you see at funerals and community games. It's a smaller, and it doesn't need plugging in. It just stays hot itself. If that helps, I'll try and find the video of it, but it's definitely on our Instagram page somewhere.
For yourself, Jerry, how many years is the wildflower meadow growing, and does it require any maintenance?
Doesn't require any maintenance. The only thing you have to do is you have to cut all the vegetation, ideally like a tabletop or very close every autumn, and remove the vegetation. That's the only maintenance that's involved in it. The site we were on was quite degraded. It was a semi-industrial site, and we had to clear a lot of debris off it. So the ground was very compacted. So, I mean, I feel it's getting better every year. We had a lot of dock and thistle, creeping thistle at the start. The dock I notice now is coming back, but even the dock and the thistle have their own role to play as well. And the thing I've meant to do, just too lazy, just didn't get around to doing it. I'm going to put a lot of yellow rattle seed on the meadow because it's a semi-parasitic seed which will parasitize the grass species and let the wildflower species thrive. But I mean, if you wanted to get started with a wildflower meadow, it just start straight away by just trim all the vegetation next autumn, ideally kind of rake and scarify the ground. On part of the ground, we did put in a wildflower mix from a guy called Sandra Cafola. I'm not sure it's really necessary because on any ground, given an opportunity, there will be a native wildflower seed deposit there anyway, which will start to thrive as the grasses get weaker. So, but yeah, it's just constantly changing year on year, and it's a topic of fascination actually for me.
There's actually a follow-up to that from somebody else. Are there different wild seeds needed for wooded areas rather than open space?
Again, I would say you would just let nature thrive with what is already in the ground, rather than thinking you need to actually. Because a lot of seed mixtures you probably get might contain non-native seeds, and it's important to use only a native seed source like Sandra Cafola. But nature will figure that out itself. It's one thing. It's one area you don't need a lot of skill. You just need to leave it alone and give it an opportunity. Yeah. Now, the one thing I did plant a couple of. As I said, Japanese forests, Maiwaki forests in the wildflower meadow, country that they need to be well mulched. They need to thrive. So we basically use the produce from our compost heap on the little micro forests. But the idea of the wildflower meadow is the ground has to be poor.
Interesting. Níamh, one final question there for yourself and the group. That's the last question in there. Do you think that your sustainability measures have helped attract clients to your clinics? And do you advertise this, or is it word of mouth?
So I guess for myself, where I'm working at the moment, I only started in my practice back in January. So we're only really starting in terms of sustainability and getting the team on board. And I'm kind of in the middle of doing a little audit on it and to get a plan in place. I'm not sure about yourselves, guys. Do you think, Emma, Jerry, Brian, do you think that clients have been attracted to because of the sustainability measures you've implemented?
Can I answer that? I'm convinced about it. I have been that was never my intention, because we did it for its own value. I've been surprised we get a lot of people from out of town coming to our practice who say like, "Oh God, this place is lovely," and I sometimes wonder what is it that they see is lovely, but it's just a vibe in it. It's what I call a non-industrial site. like inside in the clinic room, a small animal practitioners would probably be scandalized to hear this, but we'd swallows nesting on the lights in the clinic rooms, and I kept their nests there. And some reasonably important horses would have been treated and injected in those rooms. Now, I'm not recommending it for a small animal practice, but you can cope with it and don't be afraid of it.
Living alongside wildlife, I guess, isn't it, Jerry?
Living alongside. Now, we did put in bird boxes, bird nests as well. They weren't really successful. They preferred to build their own because I wanted to move them to a different part of our barns, but they insisted. They preferred the area that I wanted to work in, so I said, that's fine, you can stay.
Amazing. Do you agree, Emma or Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Emma.
100%. Yeah. You get people coming and they say, gosh, we didn't think going to the vets would be like this. And I think that it's a very emotional time a lot of the times for people. They're really stressed and they're really worried. Think how stressed people are getting to the practice. I mean, they've made the phone call, they've loaded up the cat into the carrier, they've got the dog sleep, they've loaded up the kids, they've negotiated the traffic, they get to your place, they go, oh, holy crap. And if everything is difficult when they get there, it adds to the stress. But if they can see something natural, like I can't see your place, Jerry, but I feel like I can see it. You can envision it from what you're describing. And you just automatically, it reduces stress levels, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. And it makes people think that, well, look, if you care about your environment, surely to God they care about my animal.
I'm not sure how much it's helping or not, the business side here, but definitely I know I inspired one local equine vet to switch to an EV, and he's had it for the last few months now, and he's delighted. And I recently had a 75-year-old farmer who bought an EV, and told me he was absolutely thrilled and just was kicking himself he didn't do it sooner. So I got a great kick out of that anyway. Like that. So if I had any hand actor part in pushing him towards it, I'd be happy enough with that. That's enough for me.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Is that all the questions there, Mike, now from?
Just the last one here is just come back to yourself, Jerry. And somebody said, my garden here is full of ragwort and so many cinnabar moths. How do you cope with that, Jerry, down there in the equine practice?
Well, they usually won't eat fresh. They take in the ragwort in hay. They won't. I've never seen them touch a plant. And actually, in one of the photographs that I had of my dead hedge, you could see a ragwort plant growing right beside where I actually trot horses in a circle on lameness exams. And I had been amazed how often the horses will actually lunge for some of the plants in the wildflower meadow. And I've never seen them go for the ragwort. So
I think, aren't they herbivores especially, they're very good at detecting toxic plants until they're in hay or silage, until their scent is gone, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they can figure it out.
Fantastic. Is that all the questions there, Mike? Does anyone else have
That's
any?
it, Níamh.
Amazing. We're slightly over time, but we'll finish up soon there now. I'll just pop up the last slide or two that I have here. Share. Now, so I just want to before we finish up, just to let you know how to get involved if you wish to do so. So firstly, I guess I want to thank everybody for their time this evening and for their support, to our speakers especially for taking the time to do these presentations, to speak here tonight, and for just even being implementing sustainability changes in practice. It's so fantastic. And then just in terms of the VSNI ourselves, we are made up of a steering group and our discussion group as well. So I'd just like to thank everybody that has been with us since the start and who's joined us over the last year and supported us along the way. And in particular, our steering group has been very, very busy over the last couple of months trying to get this up and running. So then in terms of getting involved then going forward, we'd love for you to go back to your practice and make maybe one change inspired by our three speakers. If you do so, we'd love if you could share it on social media and tag us so we can see. You can also sign up to our mailing list with the email that's supplied there. We'd love if you could tell people about sustainability, about the changes the guys here have talked about today, just to try and inspire other people. And then finally, as we are a not-for-profit, we do rely on people for time, as we don't have any full-time salaries or whatnot going. So it is volunteer based only. And if anybody would like to get involved, please do reach out. You'd be more than welcome to join us. And then finally, I'd just like to signpost some supports that are available via the Irish Veterinary Benevolent Fund and the Vet Support Ireland, which is specifically for veterinary professionals in Ireland. One of our steering group members, Colette, works with these, and it's on her behalf that we have this slide here today just to signpost these. We hopefully will follow up with a webinar on these topics over the coming months. And so, yeah, that is it for tonight. Thank you very much again to everybody for attending. Thank you to our 3 speakers again, and thank you to our steering group. Thank you to Excel Vets, and yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed the evening and were inspired by the talks that happened tonight. Thank you.